Now, from the Octavian server, the award-winning DC News, with Hispanic Crow, Stanley Weather, and Timmy Sports. We bring them to you now, live. Good afternoon, I'm Hispanic Crow, here to bring you up to date on the Sorcerer Prank War. Things aren't looking good at all between the two raging groups. You may have seen our initial coverage at the beginning of this feud, but we will be sure to give you a quick recap. Shortly after sprinkling the herbalists with a bit of their propaganda, the herbalists decided to retaliate by covering their entire island with fauna. Kavagram, the leader of the herbalists, recruited his new allies, the night sorcerers, into assisting him with peppering their island with plant matter. Afterwards, the Storm Masters vowed their revenge and accepted that this war was to go on. Shortly after this, the night sorcerer's castle was found to be completely covered with bamboo. The initial thought was that this might be an attack from the Storm Masters in response to assisting the herbalists. After further investigation, however, this was determined to instead be an unrelated attack made by the Fire Nation. Here we have some footage from the time of the attack. Please keep in mind, dear viewer, some of this imagery may be disturbing. This attack occurred with a few injuries and one death, the horse that was pulling the Night Sorcerer's trade wagon. Sadly, the horse was so new that it had not yet been given a name. Let us all bow our heads in a moment of silence in remembrance of the untamed horse. The Fire Nation was at least kind enough to repair any structural damage and replace the horse with another wild Mustang. But is this enough to satisfy the Night Sorcerers? Only time will tell. Hispanic Crow and Kavagram were able to clean it up with relatively no fuss. Shortly after this tragedy struck once more. The herbalist base became one giant crime scene as blood and disembodied heads littered their grounds. The signs left behind seem to indicate that this is the work of the blood sorcerers, though this left the herbalist with confusion. The signs seem to imply that this attack was in retaliation for trespassing on their land. However, the herbalists claim that they have never set foot on blood sorcerer territory. As of this moment, no further word has come from the blood sorcerers. It seemed for a brief moment that there may be some peace after this, because the Storm Masters decided to present the herbalists with a gift in the form of a giant duck statue. Unfortunately, this statue was rigged to blow, which Kavagram identified fairly quickly. And so, Mr. Cilio Kills ended up triggering the trap himself in frustration. In response to this, Kavagram rigged a similar trap at the Stormmaster's base, a lectern that was rigged to set off a nearby explosion upon the turning of a page. There has been no official response from the Stormmasters in regards to this specific trap, but we can confirm that a small hole did suddenly appear where there was none before. A few days later, the Stormmasters decided to respond by flooding the herbalist with multiple noise machines, some hidden above ground, some below. This turned out to be slightly too harsh of a prank due to how well hidden they were, and Kavagram and Mr. Cilio Kills ended up cleaning this up together. Steel provided Kavagram with a gift in response to this, but was clear to specify that this did not mean peace. The Archmage of the Herbalists claimed that this next part is a prank, but it could be seen as instead a gesture of friendship. Kavagram linked up their base to his expansive road. Finally, this may not be specifically linked to the war, but it is noteworthy due to its sentience and potential as a member of their war council. The Herbalists created a supercomputer they call the Herbabot, capable of providing them with direction and creating a number of bee robots. No one is quite sure as to the intention of these bee robots, but they do appear to be marching their way to the Night Sorcerer's castle. Thank you for taking the time to get these facts. Before we move on to weather and sports, here's a word from our sponsor. Are you often confused about what's happening on the Octavian server? Only all the time. Well, don't be a dummy. Check out the Octavian server wiki. Oh boy. It has articles on the moderators, different shops, events, and more. Well, I'll be sure to check that out. Good, do that right now. Oh, yeah, okay. I want to be clear. Consider this a threat. I have your family. My family? Thank you. And now the weather with Stanley. Well, hi there. My name's Timmy, and I'm here to talk about sports. Now, you might think that in a war, sports has no place, but that is simply not true. You ever play a rousing game of checkers with someone you should be fighting? I swear, it is so much fun. Also, you know what else is considered a sport by some people? Hunting. And, I guess I'll consider it to be a sport too. And you know what the most dangerous thing to hunt is? Why, it's your fellow man. Now, admittedly, there ain't really been that much death so far in this prank war, but I bet you it's coming. Well, that's really all I have to say. So, bye, folks. Back to you, Crow. Thank you to both of you. Truly inspiring stuff. Well, this concludes tonight's broadcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to like and subscribe to keep up to date on all future news.